Untap Upkeep, and welcome back to the channel if you've been here before, and if you haven't, sit back, relax, and enjoy our wacky, well, off-the-wall show for you today. For those of you that have already been liking, subscribing, and sharing all my videos, thank you for all the support, and just know I couldn't do it without you. So without further ado, let's kind of jump into the, well, off-the-wall insanity that I have for you today. So for today's commander, we are definitely going to continue my little budget train where everything except for a couple of exceptions are going to be $1 or less in the deck. And well, the commander kind of poo-poos on the whole thing, but I mean when you see what he is, you'll understand. So let's dive into Edgar Markov. Hooray! Vampire Daddy! Yay! Hooray! Vampire Daddy. Anyway, Edgar is a extremely popular vampire commander, if not the vampire commander. I think the only problem I ever have with Edgar is the fact that there's not really a whole lot of red pieces that go with him. He's mainly a white-black commander with like a splash, a sprinkle, or even just a kiss of red to him. They really just haven't produced a whole lot of like red or red X vampires that are actually decent enough in my opinion, especially for a budget restriction to be thrown into Edgar. So let's dive into what makes Edgar so powerful and so popular, shall we? So for 3 in Mardu, we get a 4/4 Vampire Knight with a mechanic called Eminence. It was a mistake, Wizards, it really was. Eminence. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar is in the command zone or on the battlefield, make a 1/1 black vampire creature token. Unfortunately, they do not have flying, and that is a major downside, Wizards. Why? Vampires, they fly. Anyway, this means that it doesn't matter if he's on the battlefield or if you've never cast him in the entire game. Every time your battlefield is dropped by a vampire creature, which this is vampire tribal, you're going to make 2 bodies for the price of 1. That is an extremely powerful mechanic. It has got a horrifying amount of support for it, and it is, well, it's terrifying even on a budget, y'all. Like, I saw one of our gamers at my local game store, Anthony. He built, I believe it was like a $90 budget version of Edgar, and it wrecked shop. It was pretty nasty. I don't even remember. I think he actually won that tournament with that deck. It was that bad. If you somehow, for whatever reason, decide to play Edgar or get the chance to have him enter the battlefield, he has first strike haste, and whenever he attacks, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. Oh no. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, non-binary folk, even dogs, cats, and well, zebras, squirrels, whatever else there might be out there. This means this is an attack trigger, so as soon as he attacks, or he is declared an attacker, this ability goes onto the stack and all your stuff gets bigger. That's 4 damage, that's 4 blocks. Owies. So let's dive into the creature base now that we know about the commander. Let's find out what we got going on. First of all, we have standard all-star Amalia. Amalia has Ward of Pain 3 life. She's just Orzhov, so a white and a black. For a Vampire Scout, that's a really, really nice 2/2. That says whenever you gain life, she explores. And if she hits exactly 20 power, nuke the battlefield. And it's all other. So she still lives, but everything else, they're gone. So she's really in here just to fill a slot as both a board wipe on a stick that your opponents have to answer if they are creature based, and or she's just a nice 2-drop that'll poop out another vampire, so we at least have 3 bodies for 2 mana. Not too shabby if you ask me. Baron Bettram Greywater, he's a 4-drop that allows the following ability. Whenever one or more non-tokens enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 black vampire rogue creature token with lifelink. So whenever we play him, we won't get the ability. It's the cast trigger. But if we were to play Baron and then like Amalia, we would get the one vampire from Edgar, and we would get one vampire from Baron here. And he also has another ability of pay 1 and a black, sacrifice another creature or an artifact to draw a card. Now remember, we can do that at instant speed. So if you were to break the bank and go against the Buddha vow, as it will, since we are the Buddha dragon and the Buddha temple, well, you could go get a 1 ring, and maybe before it goes to kill you, you could yeet that thing to the graveyard and draw a spare card off of it. So there are some pretty nice things you could do with this. Blood Artist, just about everybody knows the Blood Artist. Whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It does target, so The Blood Sworn Steward, commander creatures you control get a +2/+2 and half haste. This thing has flying and is a 4/4. So for 5 mana, we get all of that, plus if Edgar's in the command zone or on the battlefield, we get a bonus body. Really, he's in here just because I wanted to splash some red vampires that I thought were really, really neat and handy. I mean, Edgar already has haste, but, I mean, he does give him a little bit more of a punch, so you never know. Blood Tracker, 4 mana for a 2/2 that was printed in the Ixalan Vampire Commander Precon. You can have it get a 1/1 counter if you pay 1 a black and 2 life, and then whenever this thing leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. That is very, very important that it says leaves and not dies. That means if somebody were to like Path to Exile, Swords, Plowshares, Farewell, anything that says exile instead of destroy, it doesn't matter. If this thing has 1/1 counters on it, we still get to draw those cards because it just cares about when it leaves. It's not a die. So if somebody were to bounce it, exile it, whatever, as long as it's not phased out, we're able to draw cards off of it if it has 1/1 counters on it. And that's actually pretty handy. Champion of the Dusk. So whenever he enters the battlefield, we're going to draw X cards and lose X life for X the number of vampires we control. So he's just a nice, like, potential, if everything went right, maybe 5 mana draw 10 cards or so. 5 to 10 cards. I mean, that's pretty nice. We take a big chunk of life damage there, but it'll be alright because we have vampires that have lifelink and ways to drain, so we're okay. Florian, we're able to look at top X cards of our library, where X is the total amount of life your opponent's lost this turn. Exile 1 of those cards, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And we may play the exile card this turn. Play is very, very important. And that means if we were missing our land drops and we desperately needed that land drop, we only did 3 damage. Maybe we could find a land within the top 3 cards, pick it, be able to play it, and we could keep the crank going. Vulcan Wrath Pit Fighter, just a nice 1-drop. Mono red vampire. Pay 2 and a red, discard a card, sack a vampire to draw 2. Only activate this ability if an opponent lost life this turn. And it's got some decent abilities and whatnot. It's really here just because cheap vampire. Vulcan Wrath Noble, same thing as Blood Artist. Dusk Legion Duelist is really nice in here. Whenever he gets 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, draw a card. It only triggers once each turn. So potentially we could draw a free card from him if we have ways to give him like 1 counter here or there, which we do with something like Drana. Liberator of Malakir. So whenever she attacks and deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. So we could potentially turn 1/1 vampires into, something a little bit scary. Which it already is terrifying if you ask me. True Celebrant, whenever it or another creature or a planeswalker you control dies, everybody gets to lose a life and you get to gain a life. Of course, I had to add a dragon in here because why wouldn't I? I added the Imstrom Predator. So whenever it becomes tapped, you're going to exile up to one target card from a graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a vampire dragon, everybody. A vampire dragon with flying. It's a 3/3. Not that great at 4 mana, but 4 mana with Edgar, so that we're making a 3/3 vampire dragon and a 1/1 token. So 4 for 4. Not bad. He also has sacrificed another creature. And the Instrum Predator will gain indestructible until end of turn, and we have to tap it. Well, if it's already been tapped and attacking, we don't really care too much about that because it still does untap on our untap step. But, you know, being able to keep Big Dumb Dragon alive is pretty neat, if you ask me. Indulgent Aristocrat, we can pay. It has lifelink, has a 1 mana 1/1 that we can pay 2 mana to sacrifice another creature. If we do, we can put 1/1 counter on each vampire we control. Go away, you stupid suggestion. Bad. Bad suggestion. Bad computer. So what this basically means is we could have a big enough army, but not enough cards. We could start eating some of the army away if we needed to, and use something like Dusk Legion Duelist at instant speed. So on like everybody else's turn to be able to draw like 3 more additional cards before our turn. Maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, I don't know. Legion Lieutenant. Other vampires you control get a +1/+1. Pretty self-explanatory. Markov Baron. Other vampires you control get a +1/+1. This thing has Convoke, Lifelink, and Madness. Convoke means we could tap vampire tokens to help pay for its mana cost. And in this case, because they are black, they will help reduce the black mana as well. It has Lifelink, that's self-explanatory. And then Madness. Excuse me, weather out here makes me a little sleepy. Or did you yawn again in YouTube world? I think you did. It's not nice. But let's get back to the channel, shall we? Madness means if he would be discarded at from our hand, we could just pay that mana cost, and instead of him going to the graveyard, we get to play it for that mana cost. I have to go back and do some research on like the actual rulings, but I believe it would bypass like timing restrictions. I'm not 100% on that, so I need to do some research on that before I confirm yes or no. If I'm right that it does, then that means if somebody's like Wheel of Fortune or whatever, you're able to be like, oh cool, well here's 3 mana, here's a vampire plus a bonus. So not too bad. Maverin Vane, the Dusk Fossil. So for 3 mana, we get a 2/2 that says whenever one or more non-token vampires you control attack, make a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. So all of our non-token vamps that get to deal damage, or at least declare as attackers, we're able to make one guy. Morbid Opportunist is one of the very few non-vampire creatures in the deck. I believe we only have one other. It's really in here because if we were to start sacrificing them or they're starting getting picked off here and there, we're able to draw cards to hopefully replace them. Twilight Prophet acts like a Dark Confidant. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, which should be pretty easy to get in this deck, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. It bypasses draw abilities. So anything like anything that punishes you for drawing cards, or anything that says like, well, if your opponent draws more than just the one for the turn, I get to. This bypasses it. And then it says, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is that card's mana value. So we're not going to gain a whole lot of mana life out of here, because overall our mana value is pretty low to the ground. But every little bit could help. It's really there for the card draw, if you will. Next we have Stormkirk Captain. First strike, other vampires you control get a +1/+1 and have first strike. That can come in handy. The Selfless Spirit is the other non-vampire creature that we have in the deck, but he's kind of an honorary one, being that he's a spirit. He's a 2 mana 2/1 with flying, and then he just says a very simple thing: sacrifice this creature, and creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So he's a creature away to protect our battlefield, which we enjoy. Sanctum Seer, whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This ability does stack, so if we swung with 10 vampires, everybody's losing 10 and we gain 10. Ruthless Lawbringer. So when it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target non-land permanent. Edgar Markov's ability is a cast trigger, so you can cast this guy, make the vampire, sack that same vampire, and blow something up. Rakish Air, whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a on it. We like that. A old school standard classic of Vampire Nighthawk, a 3 mana 2/3 with Flying Death Touch and the Lifing Link. Vampire of the Dire Moon. It's a little bit above the budget, but give me a little bit of a break here. This card's come way down from where it was, but this is just a nice 1 mana death touching, life linking 1/1 vampire. It just kind of starts a whole thing. Vampire Socialite. When it enters the battlefield and an opponent lost life this turn, put a 1/1 counter on each other vampire you control. This thing also has Menace, so like it's kind of hard for your opponents to block this thing. And then, as long as the opponent lost life this turn, each other vampire you control enters the battlefield with additional +1/+1 counter on it. This could get a little out of hand if you do it just right. You swing at somebody, or you sack something with any of our drain capabilities on the battlefield, and we can start pumping up our army little by little. Tends to get out of hand a little bit. Vengeful Blood Witch. Whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So we're our 3 for 3 when it comes to the quote Blood Artist effects. We have 3 different creatures that allow us to drain everybody. Ironically enough, they're also vampires, so they go really good with our whole theme. Grisler Seer allows us to sack the creature to scry a card, so if we get the feeling we're a little bit mana flooded, we have a way to kind of deal with that and just not be mana flooded. Welcoming Vampire. This thing's become a smash hit ever since Murders of Markov Manor, and I am so glad they are printing this into the ground. Keep it going, Wizards. This card deserves to be like 10 cents because it is just that absurd. So whenever one or more other creatures you control with power 2 or less enter the battlefield, draw a card. Triggers only once each turn. That is a bummer. This deck doesn't have a way to do that, per se, for like everybody else's turn, but that's okay. We at least get a little bit of incremental value, and that could be a difference. Finally, we're also running Yahini because Yahini is awesome. I mean, he's just awesome. He has haste, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on him. And then we could just sacrifice a creature to make him indestructible. So, as long as the rest of the army isn't been obliterated, we at least have a way to keep Yahini and, Yahini. Yahini on my brain. Oh my goodness. But Yahini here will at least still survive, and, we could do something with that. Our sorcery package is very, very light. We're running Austere Command for a big old stinky poopy board wipe. New blood to take control of a creature permanently. It's not till end of turn, and no, we will not give it up. We have Knight's Whisper to draw us 2 cards, costing us 2 life. Read the Bones. We could scry 2, then draw 2 and lose 2. Our other board wipe is Olivia's Wrath. So for 5 mana, each non-vampire creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. So even if by turn 4 we only have 4, maybe 5 vampires out if we're lucky, then this could pretty much take care of a lot of things. I like this a lot in this deck, not because it's the vampire synergy of it, but mainly because it's a negative capability, meaning a lot of things that have like indestructible or can't be targeted or whatever, like it gets around that, and we really enjoy that. Milk is delicious, just so y'all know. Our instant package is going to be pretty much what you would expect. We're bending the rules a little bit with Anguish of Making as well, mainly because it is in the Abzan Precon that you can buy right near for Tarkir Dragonstorm. So I thought it would be okay to bend the rules and have this in here because it is such a fabulous card. Exile target non-land permanent, and we get to lose 3 life. Generous Gift blows up something. Mortify will hit a creature or an enchantment. Path to Exile sorts the plowshares, staples in any white or white X decks. Despark as well. We are also running Crackling Doom to deal 2 damage to each opponent, and then they all have to sacrifice the greatest power among creatures they control. Oopsie daisy. Rootborn Defense and Duty Beyond Death. Rootborn Defense will populate and then give our stuff indestructible, meaning we could choose one of our tokens and make an extra copy of it. Not that bad, not that great. But then we have Duty Beyond Death. And as additional cost to cast the spell, we must sacrifice a creature. We make tokens, we're okay with this. And then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control this way. So not only does it make our stuff indestructible at instant speed, it makes them bigger in instant speed. Oh my goodness, y'all. Watch out. Village Rites and Corrupted Conviction are both pretty much the same card, just a different name. Pardon me. So they both say we have to sacrifice a creature, and then after that we get to draw 2 cards at instant speed. So if there is a board wipe fixing to happen, we can at least hopefully get some value if we kept mana open. And finally we have Deadly Dispute. Sacrifice an artifact or a creature, draw 2, make a treasure. Not a bad rate. Let's get down to the artifact package, where it's going to be, again, a lot of what you would expect to see. We have all of the signets in here, including Arcane, Orzhov, Rakdos, and Boros. So we have all 4 signets right here in a nice little package. Only running one of the talismans, just to kind of help things out a little bit. Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, Commander Sphere, Soul Ring, and even a Wayfarer's Bauble. I will say, if you build this deck in person and you don't feel you're hitting your colors just as good as you should be, you can always drop Felwar Stone and the Mind Stone for the other 2 talismans, and that should help smooth out the deck a lot. So don't be afraid to do that. The last piece of artifacts is going to be Idol of Oblivion. So this thing is just card draw, really. Every time we make a token, we're able to tap this and draw a card. It can only be done at sorcery speed. Well, no, not sorcery speed. Only if you make a token. Good lord, I cannot talk today. So they're just kind of nice incremental value. Next up, we have a couple of enchantments with the Stensa Masquerade. So attacking creatures you control have first strike. And whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's another way to help get the team bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It also has Madness, and it says if you would discard this card, discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its mana cost or put it into your graveyard. So even if they try to make us discard it, we can hopefully keep enough mana open, pay 2 in a red, and just cast it anyway. Finally, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. Because I'm this nasty of a person. I did this. And I know I'm going to see this deck out in the wild. Probably at my local game store, and I'm going to love and hate myself for this. I know it. But also, we have shared animosity. So whenever a creature you control attacks, if it gets a +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. This means if you attack with 5 vampires, they're all going to get a +4/+4 because it's each other, not each other. So your 5 vampires attack, and then we're going to see one of them get a +4 because there's 4 others attacking, and so on and so on. So that can turn into a buttload of damage in a token deck like this. We had to be that person and add it in here. Our land package is pretty much standard of what you would kind of look to see. We're very light on the basic mountains. We're heavy on swamp and plains, just because we don't have a whole lot. We don't really plan to cast Edgar. He's just there to basically supply things. I mean, we could cast him if we absolutely have to, but we don't really need to. Our mana curve is pretty low with a bunch of 1s, 2s, and 3s. 4s are a little bit, and then 5 and 6 are just a nice tail end of everything. As you can see, we're at 58% swamp, 32% plains, and only 18 for our mountain and our colorless. So we are definitely more of a white black or black white with a literal flash red. This actually would be a dope ass hand. Oh my. Look at the dopest. The dopest of hands. Turn 1, No Mode Outpost. Turn 2, Soul Ring Arcane Signet. Viscera Seer. Turn 3, Mountain into Idol of Oblivion to maybe even Drana. That would be spicy. Draw and then draw. So plains, and we could play Champion of the Dusk Legion if we feel like it. Keep mana open if we need to. Wow, that'd be a swing and turn. So, if you stuck with me so far, I know what you're probably here for, and that is, well, Buddha, if we weren't doing a budget restriction, what other cards would you have to add into the deck off the top of your head? Still kind of within budget, let's go over them, shall we? First up, we have Boros Charm to protect our board if we feel our meta is very, no creatures for you, board wipe heavy. The Cordial Vampire. Whenever he or another creature dies, he is going to put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. That gets nutty. The Charismatic Conqueror. This thing is spicy and so hot for a reason. Whenever an artifact or a creature enters the battlefield untapped under an opponent's control, they may tap that permanent, and if they don't, you get to create a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. So good. So good. Captivating Vampire. The vampires you control get a +1/+1. Fine, great. That's not even close as to why we like this guy. You could tap 5 untapped vampires you control, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Oh my goodness, guys, let me tell you, this is nasty, this is disgusting, and I hate this card. This is definitely a card that I kill on sight, because no. I've let it live one time, and it kicked my butt. I'm never letting it do it again. I don't care what politicking you do, you're not keeping this card. You're not. This thing steals things and steals them permanently. No. Our last card in the creature section is going to be the Bloodline Keeper. So, for 4 mana, we get a 3/3 with Flying Vampire that says, pretty simple. You can tap to make a 2/2 Vampire creature token with Flying. And then, for a black mana, you can transform this creature. Activate only if you control 5 or more vampires, which should not be very hard in this deck, everybody. To the Lord of the Lineage. Other vampires you control now get a +2/+2, and then we can tap to make a 2/2 vampire creature token with Flying. So this gets really nutty really fast, and it is so spicy. God, I love this card. Skull Clamp, pretty self-explanatory. We're going to clamp onto one of our 1/1 tokens that's going to die because it can have 0 toughness. And whenever the creature that this thing is equipped to dies, we draw 2 cards. Game Changer would be the Smothering Tithe. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they can pay 2, and if they don't, we're going to make a treasure. War Leader's Call. Creatures you control get a +1/+1, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, War Leader's Call deals 1 damage to each opponent. Last to wrap out everything is our mana base, which we're going to upgrade relatively easy. Some shock lands, the triomes, and even the battle bond lands. They all make things better. They do. They do. But this has been Edgar Markov on a budget. Everything in here minus, 3 or 4 cards are on a budget of $1 or less. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about Edgar Markov here on a budget restriction. Is this content that you enjoy seeing? Then let me know. And feel free to suggest a commander that is off the beaten trail or even popular and see if we can do something with it at $1 or less. This is not the most powerful version of Edgar by any stretch of the imagination, because you can add the new Elspeth that doubles tokens. You can have Mondrak doubles tokens. You can have Anointed Procession that doubles tokens. And you can have Ochaher who triples tokens. So you can go full on token strategy bananas with the deck if you really needed to. I don't think you really need to, but that's me and my own personal taste. You do you, boo boo, and you let me know how you enjoy the deck. But for now, the link for this deck will be in the description below. I look forward to hearing about your thoughts on this deck. And hopefully, thoughts about suggestions for other decks you might have. Is there something I might have missed with Edgar here that you might would swap out? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I have been your wonderful Buddha Dragon. Remember, rub that belly for mana, and may your games be filled with magic. Until the next time, I'll catch you in the game.